When information concerning SCP-076 was brought to the attention of SCP-073 for backing up, 073 showed familiarity with the information and was disinclined to adding to it. It then stated that it is best not to meet with SCP-076 out of consideration for all parties involved. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Keter Class Object SCP-073. SCP-073, also known as Cain, appears to be a heavily tanned male of Arabic or Middle Eastern descent in his early 30s, 6'1" tall and 75 kilograms, with black hair and blue eyes. Arms, legs, spinal cord, and shoulder blades of 073 appear to have been replaced with artificial versions of unknown make and metal. 073 only takes notice of this when it is pointed out, and states that it has no knowledge of how, why, or when these replacements took place, stating it had had them as long as it could remember. Examination of the unidentified metal on SCP-073 has suggested that it is beryllium bronze, a metal that has been documented as being utilized by various anomalous cultures and entities. In light of this discovery, the Foundation began working in an attempt to trace the origin of beryllium bronze and how it initially spread throughout the world. When prompted, SCP-073 was able to provide information suggests that beryllium bronze originated in the Middle East, though the exact point of origin has yet to be determined. Further research into the origin of beryllium bronze is currently ongoing. There is also a symbol engraved into the forehead of 073, which appears to be of Sumerian origin. Symbol has of yet been untranslated, and 073 appears distressed when the symbol is mentioned at all, refusing to speak on it. 073 does need to eat and drink on a regular basis, but is strictly carnivorous, owing to its effect on plant-based items. 073 is generally polite and genial to all who speak to it, though it has been described as cold and somewhat mechanical in its speech. 073 is extremely helpful and enjoys aiding personnel in their daily actions, whatever they may be. It has highly detailed knowledge of ancient to recent events in history and most commonly spoken languages in the world, including ones that have since died out. 073 has professed to have a photographic memory, remembering word for word all text in an 800-page dictionary that was flipped through in a minute and a half. It has scored above average in all intelligence tests given to it. SCP-073's presence is inimical to all life grown in soil, causing death to any life within a 20-meter radius. Any land 073 has walked on and any within the 20-meter radius becomes barren, as all anaerobic bacteria dies, rendering the soil incapable of supporting life until new bacteria are introduced. Anything that is derived from soil-grown life, such as wood and paper, immediately rots and disintegrates upon touch of 073. Further affected derivatives include anything hydroponically grown. Any damages directly towards 073 will reflect directly back onto the attacker, although 073 visibly remains unharmed. Attempts to get tissue and blood samples have proven futile. When the procedure was initiated, personnel carrying out the action felt the sensation of whatever was applied to 073 and wound up with a sample of their own blood or tissue, despite the fact that all actions were directed solely at 073. Indirect damage through a medium also results in the person perpetrating the action receiving the wounds caused. Although 073 receives no actual harm from damage to its person, it has stated that it still feels the pain of the action and has politely asked researchers to abstain from overly harmful actions to its person. In light of SCP-073's indestructible nature, photographic memory, and general will to please, High Command have deemed that all information is to be backed up on 073, ensuring it is not lost in the event of a catastrophe. While this action has been met with mixed responses, 073 has agreed and sworn itself to secrecy on its part. SCP-073 was first found by the SCP Foundation in the New York Police Department, having been taken in after 073 had been found amidst the bodies of several violent gang members. 073 told police members that the gang had attempted to make fun of it, but became angry. and attempted to kill 073, resulting in their own demise. 073 was incarcerated and was deemed a John Doe when NYPD could not find any information on it. 073 came to the attention of the Foundation through a routine inspection of John Does and was subsequently released into the Foundation's custody. When information concerning SCP-076 was brought to the attention of SCP-073 for backing up, 073 showed familiarity with the information and was disinclined to adding to it. It then stated that it is best not to meet with SCP-076 out of consideration for all parties involved. SCP-076 consists of two components, a black speckled metamorphic stone referred as SCP-076-1 and a humanoid entity contained within, referred as SCP-076-2. 076-2 resembles a lean, Semitic human male in his late 20s. For more information about SCP-076, check out this video. Rumor has it that 076-2 and 073 are based off the biblical characters Cain and Abel. In the biblical book of Genesis, Cain and Abel are the first two sons of Adam and Eve. Cain, the firstborn, was a farmer, and his brother Abel was a shepherd. The symbol engraved on 073's forehead is obviously the mark of Cain, and, at least according to the Bible, it makes the land barren around him. That is why all organic materials decompose when he is near. Although we're still not sure about their relationship, but we're definitely sure that 076-2 hates 073. Because upon sight of it, 076-2 became highly enraged and aggressive, killing several of the researchers. According to the Bible, Cain and Abel made sacrifices to Yahweh, the national God of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. Each of their own produce, but Yahweh favored Abel's sacrifice instead of Cain's. Cain then murdered Abel, whereupon Yahweh punished Cain by condemning him to a life of wandering. Cain then dwelt in the land of Nod, where he built a city and fathered the line of descendants beginning with Enoch. Hence, 076-2 seems to be reincarnated as a vengeful being. He just kills and kills, which seems like he is exacting revenge for being murdered by 073. Recently, a Grade 3 researcher, Dorothy Zhang from the Chinese branch, had proposed a plan to the Containment Area 25 administrator that can possibly contain SCP-076 more efficiently. Dorothy suggested to add amnestic equipment to the killing corridor inside SCP-076-2's containment measures, attempt to erase its memory about its death. The possible outcomes of the plan include a reduction in the state of anger and a reduction in the containment process. There was no foreseen injurious consequence, and the cost was within an acceptable range. Finally, the proposal was approved. After the procedure, 076-2 has forgotten. He quieted down and murmured with an unrecognizable language, wondering where he is. He stepped out of the corridor as the guards nervously watched him. An ancient Sumerian expert was soon sent to the scene to help communicate. He has forgotten. Staying in a standard humanoid containment room, 076-2 told the researchers that he wanted to go grazing. To satisfy his request, an indoor farm was soon built. They were still highly alert to 076-2, but he had a great time anyways. He asked the employees, who were dressed as biblical characters, of 073's trace. At first, they got away temporarily by telling him that 073 went to travel, though he became much more persistent 2 months later and even threatened the employees. More armed forces were arranged around 076-2's farm. They tried to come up with excuses that could be accepted by 076-2, but they have never thought of one. Soon, 076-2 realized that they were lying to him. He escaped from its containment room and finally met SCP-073. Surprisingly, there were no conflicts between 073 and 076-2. 073 apologized to 076-2, though 076-2 did not appear to comprehend what the apology was for. Since then, 073 was allowed to meet with 076-2 periodically. After this event, SCP-076-2 was aging at the same speed as an ordinary human being and was estimated to die in a few years. By then, Containment Area 25 should recover all special containment methods that were used to contain SCP-076. The current 076-2 remained its state of death for 10 years, in which no 076-2 has been produced from 076-1 since. 076-2 is now considered neutralized. SCP-073 is currently kept in Site-17, a two-room cell furnished with all non-organic furniture and items, and a bathroom. 073 can freely wander the facility and eat in the main canteen. A tracking device has been attached to SCP-073's person and is not to be removed. It is disallowed any contact with the surface and is not allowed outside the facility. It is also not allowed to have any contact with plant-based SCPs under any circumstances. Violence is not to be used against 073 under any circumstances. 343 was standing just behind 239. His face was knit in concentration. The old man's nose had a drop of blood forming just below the left nostril, slowly running down over the crest of his lip and dropping down onto his shirt. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation's Safe Class Object, SCP-343. SCP-343, colloquially nicknamed God by the staff of SCP Foundation, is an older man. He is a humanoid in appearance, but with apparent omnipotence. According to the Foundation, although 343 looks like an old man, his features could appear differently to each observer. 343 claimed to be the creator of the universe. When asked to prove it, he laughed, walked through the wall of the chamber, and returned seconds later with a hamburger in his hand. When the doctor returned for a second visit, the previously bare cell had been furnished into a larger room, one that embraced a fantastical Old English type of style and seemed many times larger than it did from the exterior. 343 was discovered walking the streets of Prague. He was detained after a staff member witnessed him disappear from the street, only to reappear a short time later on a rooftop. 343 is detained willingly in his chamber, as containment has proved impossible. 343 resides in a 6.1 meter by 6.1 meter room at minimal security Site-17. He should be brought any items he requests and visited by at least one staff member each day because he likes company. Attempts to add further safety precautions or required clearances are unnecessary due to the nature of 343. SCP-343 greatly enjoys speaking with people and seems to have a knowledge of all topics. Visiting 343 has become a daily event for many of the Foundation's staff members, and most of them have reported feeling happier after each visit. Since 343 has been rather harmless thus far, all staff have been allowed access. According to SCP Tales, it was believed that 343 is the one who mentored SCP-239, allowing her to master her powers and create ways. SCP-239 is a small girl with the ability to do whatever she expresses a will to do, as long as she is conscious. If she can see it, she can change it. Hence, as a method of controlling 239, the Foundation has put her in a coma. However, SCP-239 later developed a complete resistance to the drugs the Foundation had used to keep her comatose. To stop her from reawakening, the director of SCP Foundation was forced to request the O5 Council for the immediate release of Dr. Alto Clef from his confinement, and immediately assigned him to this case. Dr. Clef was given access to any materials he required. All personnel were to assist Dr. Clef by any and all non-carnal means. Clef walked into the Victorian-styled study and smiled at the fragrance of pipe smoke and at the sight of old books. The old man was seated in a high-backed chair with a hardbound copy of Don Quixote open in his lap. The old man looked up, startled surprise, before smiling. "Dr. Clef."
"Hello, 343.
"Oh, please. No numbers between friends. Sit, please. We both know what you are. I've never said anything about you, not to anyone, nor have I recommended your termination, mainly because you stayed at level 3 and never posed a significant threat. You remember me from the GOC then? Geneva, 1989? And you remember that you owe me a favor. Yes, Doctor, I remember. I've come to collect. There's another type green. This one has progressed to level 4. I'm very old now, Doctor. I'm not sure how useful I can be. Sometimes I look for books, but I can't remember their names, and they're just not there anymore. Just the other day, a young man came in here to ask me about something, and I forgot he was here. And then he wasn't. Just gone, and I can't remember him. No one wants to say anything. Your aid will be necessary. I am a man of honor, Doctor. I will do whatever you need. Days later, Dr. Clef appeared in SCP-239's containment. He was looking through the steel, attempting to get a glimpse at 239's sleeping form. He watched her, watched the fading phantasms of her flicker about the room and scratching at the walls. He turned and picked up the thin helmet, strapping it to his head. The body armor was a little bulkier than he'd anticipated, but it fit well enough. He pulled on the gloves, fingered the purple gun underneath his jacket, and felt through his pockets until he found the tiny box containing his emergency backup. He grinned and picked up a keycard, sliding it into a control panel in front of the glass. He flipped the switches all down to their off position and pulled out the revolver, bringing it up to point at 239, who was slowly waking up. Clef was running very quickly. He could feel her back there, floating somewhere. He risked a glance backward, watching the floors buckle into water and piss, dirt and air. He hoped she would be off balance enough from the medications that she would be less capable, less able to affect the environmental changes on the universe. He was quite sure it was a pointless hope now. He rounded the corner and the walls slid into chunks of burning human flesh. The smell of human flesh began to turn his stomach slightly before making it growl uncomfortably. One more turn and he'd be at ground zero. Another 10 feet. 9, 8, 7. He burst through the doors. Where's 343? The doors opened slowly. The being that floated through them didn't look like it was, is, or had ever been a little girl. Years of atrophy had turned her limbs into spindly wires of flesh wrapped around bone. She wasn't able to lift them. She couldn't even turn her head. The tubes that had hung out of her arms were now crawling over her body like centipedes. She opened her mouth, trying to say something, but only a gurgle came out. She looked at Clef and gurgled again, louder, angrily. 343 was standing just behind 239, his face knit in concentration. The old man's nose had a drop of blood forming below the left nostril, slowly running down over the crest of his lip and dropping onto his shirt. The girl screamed in rage, and 343 cried out, staggered by the changes she was forcing into the world. The drugs in her system were quickly dissipating, with her control over the world around her returning. 239 turned the air into chlorine for a moment, just a moment before 343 could stop her. 343 was kneeling on the floor, ears bleeding. His knotted hands were clenched as his foe turned for the moment from Clef to float toward him. It was almost beautiful to watch, Clef thought, stopping for an instant to observe what he hoped was a rare circumstance. The distance between them crackled as the hovering female changed things, reversing the laws of physics and existence as 343 set them back into place. It was like watching a petulant child throw her toys to the floor while her patient grandfather picked them back up. Clef edged around near the door, raising the revolver again. He fired. Chunks of flesh were ripped from her body and thrown behind her to the mirror. She screamed as the cancer started to form almost instantly under her flesh. "Don't care much for that, do you, little girl?" Clef dropped the gun and tackled her before she could recover, hitting her tiny waist sharply and pushing her toward the mirror, grasping SCP-073 and shoving. They fell into a strange field, with rolling wheat and smells of emptiness. The girl was rolling on the ground, willing herself up off the ground pitifully. Clef stood nearby, knocking the bits of wheat and grass off his armor. He walked over and forced her body over. "Sorry, dearie, different world, different rules." Finally, he managed to knock her out. As she loses consciousness, her eyes thankfully glossed in the pleasant emptiness of oblivion. "My name is Iris Thompson." Minutes later, her stomach churned in rebellion. Her pulse quickened. "Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation's Safe Class Object, SCP-105. SCP-105, formerly known as Iris Thompson, is a female human of European descent, but born in Phoenix, Arizona. She is petite with long blonde hair and blue eyes. SCP-105-B is a Polaroid one-step express camera, manufactured in 1982. When 105 holds a photograph taken by 105-B, the photograph changes from a still image to that of a real-time image. 105 possessed the capability to reach through the photograph and manipulate objects within reach of the original point at which the photograph was taken. 105-B and the photographs it produces do not possess any unusual properties when operated by any other individual. 105 had demonstrated a limited ability to manipulate objects through other photographs, but can only achieve fine control using photographs taken through 105-B. 105 was brought to the Foundation's attention. 105 claimed to have been on the phone with him at the time of his murder, prompting her to hurry to his side. However, telephone records did not support or align with her story. With that, she became the primary suspect in his murder. 105 informed her lawyer that she had, in fact, witnessed the murder through a photograph she had taken with her boyfriend several days prior. The attorney in question disregarded the story and recommended that the subject plead guilty. 105 refused to do so and subsequently told her story in court, offering to demonstrate her ability. This led to her being immediately contained by the Foundation. 105 was the second humanoid SCP recruited to Mobile Task Force Omega-7 under the Pandora's Box initiative. Unlike Team Able, associated with SCP-076-2, which was assigned to strike and capture operations, Team Iris had the primary mission of reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. Team Iris carried out over 20 missions in cooperation with the Bow Commission, swiftly and without incident. The first disciplinary incident involving 105 involved the escalation of Team Iris missions from reconnaissance to wet work. 105 violently opposed the use of her abilities to carry out assassinations, even after members of the Bow Commission repeatedly attempted to secure her cooperation. During these events, 105 became emotionally distressed and attempted to deceive Foundation personnel into believing that her anomalous traits had disappeared. A Foundation professor submitted a report recommending that 105 be reclassified as neutralized. In addition, the report recommended that 105 should undergo amnestic treatment and be released to the public with regular monitoring. However, the recommendation was denied. Following this, all Mobile Task Force Omega-7 teams were disbanded, and 105 was implanted with a tracking device. 105 was housed at Site-17, while 105-B was contained in a locked safe deposit box at Site-19's high-value item storage facility. It had been 68 days since the guard posted to her door. Now was the time. She studied the picture closely. She remembered it as a photograph of Dr. Whitman and an unnamed secretary, lost to time and staffing reorganization, drunk in the manner that office workers always seem to reserve for Christmas parties. She recalled the bright yellow Level 3 staff-only sign that adorned many rooms in the facility, partially obscured by the Happy Holidays sign. Above this sign was a stained air vent. Without breathing, she looked at the photograph. It now featured only a door in a brightly lit corridor. No sign of Dr. Whitman and the insensate secretary remained. Only the entrance to the Site-17 pharmacological dispensary. She smiled. Jackpot. 105 gingerly moved her hand into the photograph. As she neared the door's electronic keypad, she recited the mnemonic that she'd kept in her head for 2 months after overhearing a chance conversation in passing between two security techs. 4 years in Site-17. She touched 4 on the keypad. 15 dead in Operation Milk Run. She entered a 1 and a 5. 1 plus 0 plus 5 is 6. She entered a 6. The year of Mom and Dad's wedding. She entered an 8 and a 7. Attempt number... Upon entering the 3, a green light flashed above the door handle, and the deadbolt sharply clicked open. 105 pushed open the door. Barely distinct now, shelves laden with bottles, boxes, and plastic bags beckoned. Her elbow was now past the photograph's threshold, and she reached as far as she dared into the pharmacy. She picked up a plastic bottle, noticed the designation on her fluorescent yellow tracking wristband, SCP-105. My name is Iris Thompson. Minutes later, her stomach churned in rebellion. Her pulse quickened. My name is Iris Thompson. The bottle fell from her grasp, and suddenly the cement floor rose to meet her, silently and without feeling. She awoke in a plush, high-backed chair. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light in the room, she noticed a grand piano in the far corner behind her. She uncomprehendingly took in her elegant surroundings, putting her hands to her face as if to reassure herself she still existed.
Please, there's no need to get up just yet.
Iris was startled by the voice behind her. As she turned, she saw an older, heavyset man with a mop of gray hair and a bushy white beard. He wore an orange jumpsuit, much the same as hers. The customary ID number, stenciled over the heart, read SCP-073. Something's not right. I'm in here, but I get the feeling I'm still in Site-17. Are you that guy that the guards talk about? The one everyone wants to go visit? If you're him, I can't understand why you didn't just pop me into your cell to talk to me earlier. Dale scratched his beard.
It's not quite as simple as that. I perceive many things, Iris. What appears to the staff here as parlor tricks and miracles is merely movement in other forms.
She poured herself a glass of water. What, like other dimensions? Dale pulled a slightly sour-looking face.
I dislike that term. It makes me sound like a horrible Flash Gordon villain. But yes, I move in worlds stacked on top of this one, as do you, though you don't know that yet.
She considered Dale carefully. What don't I know yet? The old man leaned closer.
You poor girl. Many things. The good news is that you are no mere curiosity with a penchant for photography. That parlor trick is just that, a trick.
Dale turned back towards her.
Have you ever considered that looking at pictures was simply a focal point? Perhaps it was just a way to wrap your mind around something that, in your world, should not be?
She opened her mouth to answer.
No, surely not. You are something far more otherworldly and dangerous than they suspect. The potential you have to wreak changes on the realms around you is far in excess of what could be expected by man or God. However, your mind, or what will become of your mind, or what's left of it, is ill-suited to such circumstances. Whatever fills this wonderful little facility with invisible treasures seems to have seen fit to play a particularly complex joke on you. Whatever you started out as, you are far less human than they suspect, than you yourself suspect. Her face turned red. Her hands balled up into fists. That's not what it's like. Everyone suspects, but I'm the only one who really knows. And none of you ever ask me. They rather run their tests, write their reports, and then go home like it doesn't matter. Tears came to her eyes as she turned to face the old man. Why am I here with you, anyway? I never did anything to anyone. I even helped them with that psycho with the tattoos. Less than human, you don't know me. She buried her face in her hands, ashamed and once again unable to control the situation. I'm not like the rest of you. I can choose to be more than that. Dell pulled himself up to his full height. Your presence here has inspired a need for forgiveness that even hard people like the Foundation require. Due to what you are, there was little danger of you fully accomplishing what you set out to do. But you've managed to really hurt yourself this time. You've triggered something. What you have done is set events in motion far more than a single death could have accomplished. You, the Foundation, and even I are all about to be freed from the illusion of control that shackles each and every... A beeping sound came from the old man's wrist. He checked his Casio digital watch. Ah, my manners. Time's up. With that, he snapped his fingers. And in an instant, Iris awoke in a hospital bed. Because of the security risk she represents and lack of current utility, SCP-105 is no longer allowed access to SCP-105-B.